everyone, and welcome to our online hybrid session of plant-based baking. This is part of our Bronte Festival Women's Writing Programme this year. My name is Sassy Holmes, and I'm the Programme Officer for the Bronte Parsonage Museum. And I want to thank you for joining us today. Today, more people than ever are looking to change their eating habits and incorporate plant-based alternatives into their meals. Reducing your meat and dairy intake can make a real big positive impact on both your health and the environment. But sometimes vegan recipes can be tricky to source with expensive, hard to find ingredients. Enter Katy Beskow here with us today, an author, food writer, and recipe developer whose aim is to help people learn simple, delicious vegan recipes to save money and time. With best-selling recipe book, Easy Speedy Vegan, Easy Vegan Bible, and Vegan Fake Away, we're really excited to welcome Katy here to chat to us today about writing simple plant-based recipes without sacrificing the enjoyment of food. So hello, welcome Katy, how are you?
Hi, yeah, it's great to be here. Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And I just want to testify to the audience that your recipes are delicious. I have tried them, and as a vegan myself, it's just fantastic how far we've come along over the last 5 to 10 years. The accessible ingredients, the accessible recipes are just giving and widening that reach to all our audiences. So first of all, I guess, would you be able to give us a little overview of your recipe book so far?
Yeah, so just about to come out is my 10th book, which is really exciting. But it all started with my first 3 books, the 15-minute series, which are my biggest best-selling recipe books. I have them here to show you. So there's the 15-minute vegan, and then 15-minute vegan comfort food, and then 15-minute vegan on a budget. So they were a great sort of trilogy, and I have a lot of people ask me for those 15-minute recipes, and that's how it all really started from the blog. The 15-minute recipes were the most popular, so just thought, why not get them in a book? And I know for myself, even cooking most of the day, I just, when it actually comes to dinner time, I just want something quick and easy.
Yeah.
So that's where they came from. We then moved on to 5-ingredient vegan. Again, you just want 5 ingredients in a recipe, and who has the time to have more going in, and who has the cupboard space as well. I don't know about you, I've got a tiny kitchen, so I think it's quite a realistic kitchen. Moved on to Vegan Fake Away, which is one of my favorites. I love this because you just don't need to have all the plastics and all the money that goes into ordering takeaway. And actually, I don't know about you, but when I order a takeaway, it maybe takes 45 minutes to an hour to arrive. These can be made in 15 minutes to half an hour, so it's going to be much quicker, cheaper, better for the environment. It was so much fun, and also I just love the graphics on this cover as well. It's really quite different.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And then we moved on to Easy Vegan Bible, which is the biggest book so far. It's 200 recipes in there, so it was a real uphill challenge, but it's a beautiful book all the same. And yeah, it was lots of fun to do. And this was actually written partly during the pandemic as well, so it's a special book in that way, because a lot of sort of time and social, sort of solo time went into that. And then we went on to vegan roasting pan, so everything made in one dish in the oven. Really, I mean, you might have noticed by now I'm quite a lazy cook, and I just love low effort food that tastes great. So all of these, you just put everything in the roasting pan, shove it in the oven, and it's cooked. Then vegan barbecue. Again, people always ask, what do you actually eat at a barbecue? When we do have good weather. So I put this 70 recipe book together to look at all the delicious things us vegans can eat at a barbecue. That doesn't involve meat. Easy Speedy Vegan, which was my last release, 100 recipes, and in there we've got 20-minute recipes, 30-minute recipes, and 10-minute recipes. So there's something, the concept is that you pick the time that you have and you choose a recipe from that chapter. So if you've got 10 minutes at the end of the day, you just pick something from there, and it's really quick. And then obviously the new one, which is coming out really soon. I don't know if you can see that with the shininess. Easy Vegan Christmas. So I've been pestering the publisher to do a Christmas book for so long, because I love Christmas. And I know it's one of those things. If you've never served a vegan at Christmas, what do you cook, or what do you cook for yourself? So yeah, it's great. Although I didn't realise when I'll be writing this, I'll be doing it in the middle of the heat wave summer. So that was was fun. And it's every time I remember going out to the postman, he's like, "You smell like Christmas." All the mince pies.
Yeah.
So that's
Brilliant.
a bit of a rundown of the book. So
They're
far.
amazing. Do you have a favorite one? You've got so many. It's fantastic.
Oh, I mean, I think Fake Away was just one of my favorites, not only because for like 4 months of writing it, I got to eat like takeaway classics every night. That was fun. But I just really enjoyed sort of just thinking about the different world foods and why we like to eat certain foods and why we order them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not about time, is it? It's about nostalgia, that we want something, or that feeling of celebration if we have people around. And so yeah, vegan takeaway is one of my favorites, but of course the Christmas one really holds a special place because who doesn't love Christmas?
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially at Christmas with so much family going on and occasions, a vegan Christmas cookbook is like an essential to have. So that's so exciting. And everyone listening, you better put that on your Christmas list because it's coming round.
And I think it gets away from that idea of like, also there's no nut roast in this. It gets away from the idea that you're going to be delicious as they are having a nut roast. It's all the other things as well, and it's not just about eating sort of all the side dishes. There are main dishes in there as well that are delicious.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I can't wait. A bigger question now, I guess, what do you think is important about plant-based eating, and how does that link to, I guess, the environment and our experience of our everyday lives?
I think, vegan and plant-based eating is the most sustainable way to eat. You're looking at reducing all those carbon emissions. And also it's a cruelty-free way to eat as well. And I think a lot of people are a lot more aware of what's in their food, with lots of things that have happened, the last sort of 10, 15 years. And we hear about things and people, they want to know what they're eating. I think it's fine. We all like a bit of junk food, don't we? But I think actually if we start eating natural, sustainable foods, it's better for us, better for the planet, better for our pockets as well. It's a far cheaper way to cook and eat. But yeah, the bigger picture, I would say, you're looking at sustainability, which is the main thing. And actually, food doesn't have to travel. People often think like vegan food has to travel a long way to get it, but there's lots of brands, British brands, that are now doing beans, pulses. So we can eat a lot more locally as well, which I know was a concern of a lot of non-vegans about how far vegan food was actually traveling.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. How long have you been vegan for?
16 years.
Wow.
This year. It definitely wasn't cool, and it definitely wasn't the thing to do 16 years ago. And the only place that I could really go, was the health food shop, which my housemates, when I was at uni, thought it was hilarious that I would go to the health food shop to get, vegan cheese. Why would you do that? So things have really, what you said at the beginning there, you can get everything in the supermarket. It's so accessible. There's a vegan alternative for everything. And it's been fantastic to really see that rolling and just to know how easy that is for people now.
Yeah, totally. And I think also in kind of the rise of social media engagement and online, I see so many vegan recipes and vegan influencers really kind of spreading that message, and just the amount of content of plant-based eating is really exciting at the moment.
And I absolutely is. And I think it's the whole the concept as well, that you don't have to be vegan to eat vegan food. And a much more modern way to eat is by eating a lot more plant-based meals. You might have a dinner with a bean-based dinner, butter beans instead of animal protein. And it's easy, it's quick, and it's healthier to eat like that, isn't it? And I think I think people are a lot more aware of that now. Like you say, online there's so much content, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so accessible.
Definitely. Is it expensive to be vegan? That's a question I get asked a lot. How do you respond to that?
I think like any other diet or lifestyle, it's as expensive as you want it to be. If you're buying a lot of processed foods, like your big ice cream brands that are now doing vegan options, your cheeses, your processed vegan meats, yeah, that's going to be expensive. Just as it would be if you were eating the animal version of it as well. But actually, if you're eating from the pantry, so you're using tomatoes, you're using proteins such as canned beans, pulses, lentils, that is a far cheaper way to go. And I think when you say that, from the pantry, people think, oh, is that going to be tasteless and boring? but it's not. It's just about thinking outside the box of the sort of meat and two veg way of eating, and just come up with different things where plants are the focus and the heart of the meal. But I would say in general, no, it's a very cheap way to eat. And if you replace your beef mince in a shepherd's pie for lentils, you'll find the difference just from one meal for that. So I think I can get a can of green lentils, for example, in the supermarket for about 65 pence at the minute. Ever changing, I know, but around about that. And I imagine beef mince is a lot more than that right now.
Yeah, totally. Lentils, they're so brilliant. You can put them with everything.
Incredible, you know, and
Yeah.
they're always there. They're in the cupboard. They're so versatile and actually really delicious. And I know people have a chuckle when vegans talk about how wonderful lentils are, but you know, there's such a good sort of British food staple that can be used, like oats as well, and be used for so many different things. And they appear everywhere, don't they? And yeah, wonderful thing to keep in the cupboard.
Yeah, totally. So then, do you have a favorite plant-based ingredient or a food that you always go to? Are lentils at the top of that list?
They are up there, definitely. I would say definitely a can of chopped tomatoes. Again, it's a real basic, but if you've got a can of these in the cupboard, you can make pretty much anything with that. From casseroles to curries, you know, you can have that on toast if you are absolutely desperate. But if I can have another one in as well, we're saying about lentils, a jar or a can of chickpeas, butter beans, cannellini beans, you've got a meal there. Some spices, some onions, some garlic. It doesn't even have to have a name, that dish. You just throw it all together and it'll come up with something delicious. So I would say sort of these two core ingredients would be at the centre of it. Also, yeast extract, such as like Marmite or Vegemite, it really does pack flavour if you're making chili con carne or, like we say, shepherd's pie. It'll give that meaty background. So keeping a jar of that in is very useful.
Oh, that's such a good tip. I've never thought of that. That's going straight in my dinner tonight.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Love it or hate it. But I think even if you well, literally as well, I think even if you don't like it on toast, if you just put a spoonful in your dinner, it really transforms it. And actually with minimal effort from you as well, you'd have to be seasoning it carefully, just a spoonful stirred in, and it'll just add depth and seasoning. Delicious.
That's such a great tip. Brilliant. So in terms of when people get asked about being vegan or eating plant-based, some people might say, are you missing out on nutrients or are you missing out on proteins? What foods can we find those in and how can you combat that sort of challenge?
Yeah, I mean, all your plant proteins, like we're saying, like the beans, the lentils, the nuts, the seeds, tofu, like soy-based products like tofu, absolutely brilliant. I was, as a vegan for 16 years, I hated tofu for about 10 years of that, until I really learned how to use it. And now you can buy the pre-pressed versions in the supermarket, which just makes all that, you know, putting it under books and everything so much easier. So, you know, replacing meats with tofu and beans, you're just going to get a broad spectrum of different proteins that all come together. Nutritionally, I think vegans are a lot more aware than many meat eaters about what they're actually eating as well. So they might supplement it with, you know, plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables. Personally, I don't take any vitamin tablets because I feel like I eat a really broad range of foods. I get plenty of sunlight up in Yorkshire. But that is an option as well for people, just like it would be for me, because it felt like the body just needed a bit more. But you can absolutely eat a healthy, balanced meal, low in fat, high in fibre, and lots of nutrition and protein as well.
Brilliant.
And as well, you've got all your vegan yogurts and everything like that in supermarkets now. They're packed with protein as well.
Great. Do you have a go-to vegan recipe, something that you might make after like a long day of work, or something that's really simple but delicious that you always think about?
Yeah, so I have a 10-minute, loosely 10-minute pasta dish. It's probably less than that. It's only 10 minutes really for the pasta to actually cook. It's like a spicy arrabbiata. And it's one of those things, it's just really quick and easy. You don't really need to do any chopping, especially if you've got garlic press. And I'll do a little demo of that for you.
Perfect. So that's the demo that we've got coming up as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's just really simple, store cupboard ingredients. And if you had a busy day of you know, working, you just want to come back and have something delicious, full of flavour. You don't want to go to the supermarket on the way home.
Yeah.
You've got this in your cupboard. It's just tasty and delicious, and with a little bit of spice as well.
Brilliant. So everyone at home, we're going to be sending that demo to you as well. So have a little go, have a see, give it a go as well, and let us know what you think. Write in and tell us, tweet Katy, and let us know what you think about that recipe. It's really interesting to hear about kind of the sustainable side of plant-based eating and how easy it can be. But for yourself as a writer, how easy is it to write these recipes? What's your writing process like?
A lot of it comes from making previous errors with things as well. I might have something in mind that I've seen or I've tasted, and I'll make it and it'll create something completely different. And that's fun. That's always good for lots of new ideas. But I'm lucky that I think about food 24 hours a day. So I dream about cooking and I cook when I wake up. So, you know, I don't just take inspiration myself from vegan recipes. I'll read magazines and, of course, Instagram and see what people are eating, see the food trends, and just, you know, just think about what people are actually doing right now, and just take inspiration, think, how can I veganize that? And my recipes, I don't tend to use a lot of fake meats and things. One, because I think the cost is a little bit too high for many people, and I try to make it as accessible as possible. And two, just keeping it as nutritionally balanced as I can, without being boring for people. So I'll instead of replacing the meat with a fake meat, I'll come up with some other sort of protein to go in it. But it's a really fun process, and you know, I'm cooking things in the kitchen, scribbling notes down, and at the end of the day, typing it all up. Usually working on a book, which is great fun, and of course working for magazines and newspapers as well, and getting things.
Brilliant. That's a really good way, kind of like scouring everything that's out there and making it your own as well. And I think that's something that people at home can do with recipes. I know I'm the sort of person that I'll just chuck chili flakes in everything I do, even if the recipe doesn't call for it. So there's something quite nice there about adaptable eating and kind of changing things to what your taste and flavor too.
Yeah, never be a slave to a recipe. Always make it your own. And actually, I'll read recipes and I'll think that sounds great, but that's very complicated. And it's just about simplifying it. And I cook as if it's the sort of recipe that I'd want to read myself and think, can I make that simpler for somebody to follow? Even, you know, even top chefs that want something simple when they come home. So it's just about simplifying, but packing in the flavour and finding shortcuts as well. You know, nothing that a jar of harissa can't sort out.
So true, so true. I discovered harissa when I was at university and it completely changed my world.
Amazing. It packs in so much flavour, and you know, spice blends, spice mixes. People get kind of snobby about curry paste and things, but actually you've got some of that in the fridge. You don't even have to blend your own spices. You can just add a little bit of extra of cumin or turmeric, whatever you fancy, but you've got a good base there. And I think it's fine to use shortcuts, you know, in home cooking, and I'd encourage it.
Yeah, totally. It's exciting. And we talked a lot about kind of like savory dinners and things like that. Do you ever do any cakes or any baking or any sweet treats?
Yeah, of course. I always like to do a bit of baking, which is fun. Tend to do the classics. I like a good scone. And of course, I've been working on lots of Christmas recipes.
Yeah.
So we've got lots of sort of limoncello ideas in there for Christmas, and of course mince pies, Christmas cake. And there's loads of hacks. Of course, you can buy all the vegan egg alternatives, but you can also get really good results from vegan baking with a simple cider vinegar and soy milk mix, which makes a really good buttermilk. Cakes are just light as a feather with that, and you don't need an egg alternative. My tip for vegan baking, especially for cakes, would be mix things just until they're mixed and no more. It keeps things really, really light. If you overmix, or even if you use a KitchenAid or processor, it overmixes it and it becomes a bit dense. So if you want them light as a feather, mix until you can just about see the flour remaining and no more. And that's the key, I think.
That's such a good tip. I'd never thought about that. Yeah, I always think with vegan baking, there is that kind of, I always think that baking's almost more of a science and vegan baking is like a PhD and trying to get it right.
Yeah.
But actually, that little tip will probably save so many people's cakes.
I think that's it. And I think with baking, you have to be so much more accurate, don't you? And yeah, I always get out the digital scales for that. Definitely, it's the accuracy, and you really want it. I don't know about you, but I find sort of the American vegan recipes for baking with cups just all a little bit ambiguous. And things for me don't always work out. I like a good gram.
Yes.
Objective.
Definitely.
So I think that makes it easy for people. But you know, there's there's nothing that you can that's sort of non-vegan that you can't make vegan. From panna cotta to jellies to cakes to biscuits, it's just easy now. I think you've got alternatives in the supermarket, and vegan butters, and very good vegan butters as well, and cream cheeses that make brilliant toppings. But yeah, it's more of a science, definitely, and I think you have to concentrate, don't you? It's quite nice mindfulness baking, isn't it? Because you're really in the moment, and it's good to think about.
Definitely. So you talk a lot about kind of how accessible vegan food can be, and all these brilliant simple ways to make things tasty. Have you managed to change anyone's mind about vegan food at all before? And let us know how you did that.
At one of my classes that I teach, we actually had a butcher come on the class. Now, he booked this himself. He fancied doing something different. He didn't look like he was ready for retirement. So he was a little bit suspicious, I would say, starting the class. He was like, I don't think this is going to work. But by the end of it, he was going out with his shopping list, ready to make some changes to his lifestyle, which was fantastic. And yeah, he did really well on that. And also, my parents originally were very sort of meat and two veg, Yorkshire people. And yeah, they're vegetarians now, so they just find it an easier way to eat and cook. It's just less effort.
Yeah, definitely. That's brilliant that a butcher came along to your class. That's so good. I love that.
And he was really vocal about it. When we met the team and they said, "Oh, he's I'm a butcher," and yeah, I was thinking, "Oh goodness, like, how is this going to go today? Am I going to get absolutely?" But yeah, it was really, and I think people like even if he doesn't go vegan or anything, just introducing those plant-based recipes and foods to his life just open up his options a lot more, and better for all the reasons that we listed before. And yeah, good for him.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, good for him. And I think even the small steps, even if it's just one meal a week, it makes such a big difference. So
definitely. I think it hopefully just makes it accessible to him. And I always think it's worth being the vegan that you wish you had met before you were vegan. And a lot of people, as soon as you say you're vegan, they think you're going to lecture them about animal cruelty and all those things like that. And while that might be at the back of your mind the whole time, I think it's important to be positive and look at the fabulous food you can actually create, and I think vegans have done really well in just normalizing that now.
yeah, totally. You can't go down the street without seeing a restaurant and there being a vegan option, which is brilliant. So
easy.
So easy. It's so
it's
good.
really hard to be like a super skinny vegan now, though.
Yeah, so true. Everything's so delicious. So many options. Who would you say your target audience is for these books? Who would you love to read the recipes? Who do you want to benefit from your recipe books?
I would say the busy home cook would be my target audience, from mums to students to somebody just setting out on cooking, especially with the 5-ingredient book. I had lots of new cooks contact me about that, saying thank you for not having a massive recipe list. So I would say people sort of just looking for an easy way of finding new foods to enjoy. And I think, even if you are spending just 15 minutes in the kitchen and not 2 hours making something really elaborate, those 15 minutes you can enjoy, and you can just embrace and, enjoy the flavors, enjoy the aromas, and just experiment, make it your own. But yeah, I mean, I hope the books are accessible to anyone, especially, take away if you like to order your Friday night pizza. But yeah, just anyone who wants to give it a go.
Brilliant.
Easily.
Yeah, so at home, if you're listening, give it a go, because it will be tasty and it will be brilliant. Other than plant-based eating, what other ways do you look to be sustainable in your life?
I really concentrate on food waste, having see how much goes to in the bin and landfill, and I see that also on food shoots for magazines and things. There's a lot of food gets wasted and it doesn't sit comfortably. I would say that's improved over the last few years, especially doing books and things. We all take home Tupperware and enjoy the food, but that's just on a very small scale. I know the problem is much bigger generally. So I think it's just about sort of having a plan for your leftovers. It might be that you meal plan for the week, so you only actually buy what you need to eat. Or it might be that you, like I say, have a plan that you think, I'm going to use what I've got left of those carrots in a soup, or, I'm going to use something. And I think, we're sometimes a little bit over aware of dates on food. And I think if you use your common sense and your senses, that bendy carrot is going to be fine.
Yeah.
You might not want to eat it with hummus, you might not want to eat it as a fresh veg, but actually in cooking or blended, it's going to be absolutely fine. And I think, yeah, we have become a little bit sterile, haven't we, towards food safety. And I think while it's obviously very important, you do have to use common sense and not just throw perfectly good food away.
Yeah, totally. I think that's really interesting as well. That resonates with us at the Bronte Parsonage Museum, because plant-based eating and food waste is two of our focuses for this year. So as we've been kind of thinking about our sustainable development, we've got food waste bins in the kitchen now, and we've got our garden volunteers who are kind of using some of that in a compost. That's really brilliant. And we've also made sure that on our events program that we only ever serve plant-based cakes or food or drinks to visitors. So it's really exciting to hear that you're doing that in your life too. And I think what's also clear is that they're quite small steps and simple steps that can make a real big difference in the world. And these are kind of little things that we can really incorporate into our everyday lives.
And it's great to hear, obviously, that the Parsonage is doing it on a more commercial scale as well. And I think that's it. It's better for us all to be doing small steps than just that one person doing a really massive, you've probably seen them on Instagrams, like a family only having a jar full of waste a year. Don't know who does that, but I think if we all do a little steps towards it, we're going to get to a bigger picture and a bigger goal, which is fantastic.
Yeah, totally. And talking about it as well. That's why it's brilliant to have you here, because the more you discuss it, the more you tell people, the more other people are going to pick up on it and have a go as well. So I think being vocal is just as important as well.
Yeah, and positive actions, like you're saying, serving plant-based cakes. Who doesn't love a cake? Who cares if it's vegan?
Right. Definitely. I think if you're going to get free cake, no one's going to care what's in it, really.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Katy, you're a Yorkshire writer, which is really exciting, just like the Brontes. So what was your first experience of the Brontes? Do you remember them growing up?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being from Yorkshire, there was always like, you drive in somewhere and you see signs, Brontes. So there was always that. But of course, I remember reading Wuthering Heights. And the messages that came from that, I think it's one of those books, isn't it, that it's a hard read, but as you get older and you reflect on it and you think of those women having the voices, and even though they didn't have the rights and the choices that women might have now, they still had very strong voices. And I think that's opened doors, hasn't it, for writers and other people, other women. And I think that sort of getting to understand the Brontes in that way for me was a really exciting and familiar literature, really.
You'll be happy to know that the Brontes were avid cooks and chefs and would always do lots of cooking in the house. Yeah, so we know that there's recipes that existed and some cakes that they used to make. So I think they'd be right plant-based baking and cooking,
Wow, did they actually document the recipes?
Yeah, we've got some in our archives, which is brilliant. And I think, and we kind of know things from what they wrote in diary papers about what they cooked and took to the neighbours, or what they've taken round time and things like that. So maybe you'll have to do a Bronte vegan cookbook at some point.
Love that.
Do you find anything else inspiring about the Bronte story?
I think as well, like when you hear the word Bronte, I think it's hard to just think of one of them. And I think you think of them collectively as a group of sisters, of women. And I think that's really inspiring, that actually when you think of one, you think of the others. And even though I'm sort of an author who works on my own, I have a publishing team that are predominantly female. And even my literary agency is predominantly female. And I feel like even though those people aren't visible as such, that team around me are just fantastic. And the books, obviously I've written them, but we have an amazing team styling them and prop styling them and designing them, and they're all female. And I think it's just important to consider all those people, because you're never an island, are you? There's always a group of women around you.
Yeah, definitely. Always a group of women there. I love strong women. That's great.
Yes.
When did you begin kind of writing? Have you always kind of written down recipes? Did you ever do any creative writing when you were younger? When did this journey kind of begin?
Yeah, so I was went to university and studied sciences. I became a physiotherapist in the NHS, and
Oh,
so
wow.
completely different. I really loved English at school, but I never actually did anything with that. As I say, I wanted to go into more science. It was when I was at uni that I went down to London to study, but realised that actually the streets weren't paved with gold at all, and I had to start making recipes that were much cheaper.
Yeah.
Found a fruit and veg market in Tooting in South London and just was so inspired. And I was vegetarian at the time, became vegan overnight after I'd been to this market and
Amazing.
just bought all the fruit and veg, and I didn't know what half of it was and started cooking with it and started cooking really familiar foods. Like what my mum would cook, like hot pots and that sort of thing. And my housemates and friends used to ask me for recipes. I was constantly scribbling them down. And when I left uni and started working, people were still asking me for recipes. And I just thought, I'm going to put them on a blog. And at the time, I guess not many people really do. Blogging wasn't really a big thing. So it was just a really basic WordPress blog. And within 2 weeks of that, I had contact from a magazine asking me if they could commission some of my recipes. And I didn't even know what that meant at the time. And I was like, well, you're actually going to pay me to write recipes.
Wow.
And it actually went from there. So it wasn't a planned career. However, in my wildest dreams, this is what I would be doing. And so I was gradually able to stop working in my physio job and became a full-time author. So yeah, so it's completely different and completely happened by a very happy accident. But I think I love being able to combine my passion for veganism, food, and writing.
Yeah,
Um,
that's brilliant. It's such an inspiring story as well, because it's really encouraging to kind of chase those things that you enjoy doing and on the side, even if that's not your main focus, and actually maybe one day that will turn into your everyday life.
yeah, and I think we're all a bit obsessed with living intentionally, aren't we? And I think actually sometimes you just need to follow a bit of an instinct and follow a passion and just share what you love, and it opens doors and things happen. And don't get me wrong, it took lots of hard work of taking on commissions and working full time and starting the books, but absolutely the best job in the world. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, it's really there's lots of affinity there with the Brontes kind of going for it as well. So it's the Yorkshire's running through you, isn't
That's it. It's in the veins, isn't it? You can't get away from it.
it? So we know that the Christmas vegan book is coming up, which is really exciting. Could you tell us a little bit about that and maybe what else is coming around the corner for you?
Yeah, so the book's out very, very soon. So that's in time for Christmas. And yeah, there's plenty going on. I'll give you a little snapshot of that. So there's 80 recipes in there, and there's starters, mains, desserts, drinks. There's a whole leftover chapter as well, talking about, leftovers and things. And it's things that you might not expect as well. And there's gifts and all sorts, like chocolate bark and all the yummy things associated with Christmas. So that's coming out really soon. And then I've just finished actually my 12th book. So 11 will be coming out early 2024, and the 12th, which I've just finished, will be September 2024. So that's exciting.
Yes.
And that one again, I've focused on sort of 10 staple ingredients in store cupboard, and each chapter is based on that. So it's like, lots of different ways to use oats, lots of different ways to use chopped tomatoes, coconut milk. So it's just, again, things that people have accessible at their fingertips that they can get hold of. So I really enjoyed writing that. It was lots and lots of fun. So then, I'm looking forward now to sort of finding something new to write about.
Brilliant. That's so exciting. I can't wait for the Christmas book. I think it's going to be excellent. And everything else on the horizon will be straight on my wish list and bookshops. Finally, kind of linking to our festival theme, how are you a woman of the wild?
I think just taking on a challenge and trying to spread a message of great food and veganism and sustainable living to many, many people, and making it not this exclusive club that's not accessible to so many normal people, but just making it part of everyday life. Like, you can make that vegan food, you can recycle, you can be sustainable. And I hope that message is shared from there as well.
That's really lovely. That's such a nice note. Katy, thank you so much for joining us today. I wondered, where can we find you online, on social media? Where can we find your books?
Yeah, so books are available in all good bookshops and of course Amazon. I'm at katybeskow.com, and also that's my Instagram handle at katybeskow.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so fantastic, and I can't wait for everyone at home to have a little look at the demo, give those things a go. And thank you everyone at home for joining us and for being part of the Bronte Festival Women's Writing. I hope you enjoy any of the other events that you're going to, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you. Thanks, Katy.
Thank you. Bye.